Hey man, good to see you again, bud.
Good to see you too. Happy Saturday, Padre.
All right. Hey, listen, I was enjoying that tip about just being playful for with your kids, during this time, and I think it's just helpful to be childlike oftentimes. So I was thankful for that, and I was just wondering of the folks that you're responsible for, kind of that are kind of following you, looking for some tips and advice and stuff like that. What else Saturday here do you have for us that you think would be helpful for folks? Is there
You know,
kind
I,
of walking through this?
I think the playful stuff really resonated with the adults that have young kids because
Yeah.
when we really think about those kids and what they're deprived of, the recess and the chaos and the screaming and being goofy with other little kids, having parents really reduce themselves to a kindergartner for 15 minutes. It meant a lot, but I also got a couple of outreach from people I care about saying, hey, what about those that don't have kids? Or what about those of us that have older kids? So I thought about it and did some reading. And I think one of the issues that people are tangled with right now is they have a collegiate uh, student who is home now living with them, and it was abrupt. And it feels weird because all he or she wants to do is sit in their room. And is something wrong? Do we not have the same level or intensity of love? Is our attachment broken? The reality is those 19, 20-year-olds have been living in a private situation, whether it was their dorm or their house, and they got ripped from that and they're brought home. And I was just encouraging some parents to really be patient about that and not judge the nature of your relationship or the quality of the relationship by the volume of time you're spending together. These kids miss their friends too, and they miss
Sure.
so being in their room 8-9 hours a day. Hopefully they're not doing anything that's horrendous, but that's not unnecessarily unnatural or
Right.
right. So I think
Yeah.
that's one I have of older kids.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny because in my case, I've got, I don't know, I was thinking about some of the parents I know that have kids at some of the academies. And at least in my case, my boy's coming back, and he's like in a daggone dorm with 4,000 of his best friends and 5 in his room, kind of thing. So he's actually having a break. In a way. But I think you're right. There's been that sense of independence, and now it's like, am I back in high school again or something like that?
Another funny one too was, I made a comment about there's a sense of loneliness that can occur because we are deprived of so much stimulation. Oh, there's my dog.
Tell Z hello, man.
Hey, Z. Yeah, you can't be lonely with a guy like this. Come here.
That's right.
And he and sense of loneliness that comes from deprivation and simply not doing these things can be very, very hard on people. First is, how are they filling in those gaps? And one thing that we know works is that in order to be, loneliness builds by acknowledging the things we don't have. But you can be alone and not lonely. Just remember that. But the other one was the active verb of really practicing gratefulness. That's not something that just happens. You have to engage in acknowledging blessings and being thankful for them. I know that. You have to acknowledge things that are savory, things that are beautiful, and stop for just a moment. And so there is this almost reconnection to things that we overlook because we're deprived of the things that distract us now. And I think it's an awesome opportunity for people to take stock of what they're grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, that is such a kind of a historic play for the Christian people to run for 2,000 years. And it's galvanized all throughout the scriptures, this rejoice always, right? This attitude of being grateful, acknowledging where your blessings come from. Absolutely. And I think in particular, here, the Catholic community here is called Saint Ignatius, and Ignatius of Loyola. We've talked about him a little bit, but he was a master of this. He really felt that the exercise kind of the spiritual muscle of gratitude was absolutely integral to the life of joy.
Mm.
And he even went so far as to really acknowledge a kind of a time in the beginning of the day, kind of at the end of the day, where you, in particular, at the end of the day, where you recollect the ways that you've been grateful, maybe the ways that you needed to express more gratitude. And so I absolutely think that's a really important point.
And I think taking it even is a lot of people we've found it's more simple for them to think about the things they're grateful for, but to then actually document it or to
Right.
reach out to someone and express gratefulness. It can feel weird, but it actually is very healthy because it gets this dopamine flow going. When you express gratefulness to someone, not just in your mind, but to someone, it can be a very beautiful thing for the mind and for your soul. But neurochemically speaking, it just cascades an effect in your brain that brings a lot more happiness and joy. But to
Yeah.
actually reach out and do it is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. I love that symbiosis when it's like your clinical training, my clinical training, which is, a little bit less maybe than yours, but how it it really does show the ancient wisdom of these folks that have come before us, these spiritual masters that have known these things like that. Maybe they would have had dopamine in their vocabulary, right?
But
But
they,
I mean, this is what they're doing, right? And the journaling of that was super. I know recently, what I've really enjoyed doing, because I've been blessed and we exchange gifts every once in a while as a kind of a love language, and just an expression of friendship. But just using something that you've given me and kind of snapping a picture of that, as a way to be grateful. It helps to me to recognize my own blessings, and I think it's a blessing for you to say, oh no, something I've thought about is being used over there at his household or whatever else. I think there's digital ways to do that. Certainly the old school journaling, maybe that phone call that you'd mentioned from our other conversation to someone that you hadn't reached out to in a while.
yeah, it's funny. They know the word dopamine was not thrown around, but certainly joy was. And
Right.
giving, expressing gratefulness to someone or giving a gift, you're hoping that they experience joy, and getting that reciprocal message or snap or picture later, knowing that they recognize the gift, but also that their heart is filled with joy because of not just receiving it, but using it. I think that's just it's a totally different level. And yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, buddy, I appreciate it. And so, I'm kind of taking away this idea of playfulness with the kids, patience with some of us who have college folks that have come back, and then this posture of gratitude, that is so powerful, especially during this time of so-called quarantine or whatever else. So this is good stuff. So I appreciate it, buddy. Hopefully we'll chat again soon. Okay.
Father, have a good one.
All right, buddy. Take care, man.